Good morning! Okay, the pictures for Iron Games, I'm so excited. They're already out. Um, okay, I can't contain myself because I'm really excited about the results. So Lacy Rutland won! I'm so excited. She, like we talked about her, yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get my bearings. I'm just really overwhelmed with the results of the show. So Lacy, in my video, I was like, I don't think she'll be winning this show. You know, she enters into a bunch of big shows and I really want to see her win, but I don't see her winning this show. And I was wrong! So I'm really happy about that. Because I said in a video, oh, maybe it was my nationals video or something, that Lacy is one of the people who I have looked up to, because when I was seriously figuring out what it took to become a pro, she was one of the people I was looking at, because she won the overall at Junior USA's, which was a show that I was considering doing. And yeah, so I'm really excited. So anyway, okay, let's go over the results. So yesterday, I tuned into Laura Morshay's live because she was at the Iron Games show. So I was watching, her live, and they were moving people around like crazy. The call-outs took forever. These people were on stage for so long. So it just really serves as a great reminder that you need to work on your posing conditioning. So being able to hold those poses, keep your core tight the entire time you're on stage, because they were up there for a really long time. They kept doing they did a first call out, and then they would shuffle people around. They kept walking them back and forth, and then they would bring more people out and send people off, and then but everyone's still on stage. And just, they kept doing that in prejudging and finals. And then at finals, the announcer, which he doesn't reflect exactly that on the scorecard, but the announcer said that it was a 1 point difference between each of the top 5. So yeah, but let's look at the scores here. So Lacy won with 4 points, 1 point between her and Wu Bai, or Wu B, and then Tara Greer got 3rd place, and it looks on the scorecards like it was 4 points between her and Brittany, but maybe the scorecards aren't reflective of exactly like what they finished on when they were at the show. I'm not sure. Just going off of I'm trying to tie together what the announcer said and what these scorecards say. So yeah, Brittany got 4th, and then on the scorecard it said 2 points between her and Jessica Wilson, and then it was 1 point between 5th and 6th place, which was Jessica and Jess Feeney, who I said I didn't think would do particularly well at the show, but she totally did. She beat Eureka, who was my winner for this show. So yeah, that was a 6 point difference, and then 1 point between Eureka and Ashley Mintz, who is the person who won the overall at the Olympia Amateur, who I was saying we should look out for if she got tighter, especially. And then some honorable mentions of people that I brought up in the video. Steph Warden got 10th place, 1 point between 9th and 10th place. And then Angela White, I didn't talk about her because she doesn't usually do that great in bikini, but I like her because she's queer. So I like to highlight the other people in bodybuilding who are queer. And then we also talked about Kimber, who ended up not placing, and Nicole, who I was excited about, and Mika, who also, neither of them ended up placing, but they look great. So let's go over everyone, shall we? Okay, let's get into these pictures. So we are going to start with then we might go back and look at comparisons, but let's start with our winner. So Lacy. Okay, I am eager to see what her feedback was. The suit seemed a little bit light to me. I prefer her blue one, but doesn't matter. She won. So let's look at Lacy. So great symmetry from top to bottom. Equally as wide on the top as she is on the bottom. Conditioning looks great. She's not overly muscular at all, which is something they have been trying to push in bikini, and not, being too much of a freak on stage or whatever. So yeah, and tiny waist. The taper from her lat into her waist is spot on, and she has some detail in the abs. That's something that really ties together a physique, just having that kiss of detail throughout the abdomen so it doesn't look washed out and have no lines, unlike the rest of the physique, so it shows a lot of great balance. And then what else? Hair looks great. Makeup looks pretty. These photos are a tiny bit washed out. The lighting at this show is like a little bit washed out, so I don't have a very, very great observation about what I think her makeup looks like. But it looks pretty. You know, it looks natural, but yeah, natural but pretty. I don't know. I wonder if it could be a little more glamorous, but I can't tell. Glamorous, but I can't tell just because of the lighting. So yeah, great projection on the glute from the side. We're seeing a little bit of detail all around the physique, but nothing crazy. I wouldn't say she has super bubbly muscle, but she does have a really beautiful flow to her physique, and she's really balanced. So I think her balance is what got her this win. I did say in my video yesterday that I'd like to see a little bit more volume and just added tissue all around, and I still think that, but it makes me happy to see that, like, she's winning and this isn't even what her best physique is going to be. Like, she does, I think, have the propensity or potential to put on more size and still fit the bikini criteria and just be even more impressive. So I love when I see someone win who I think it's safe to say she's not even at her full potential yet. I think she went pro in 2023. Yeah, right? Yeah, last year. She just went pro. Okay, let's look at her back pose. Oh my god. Sorry. You know, if I knew how to edit, then I would edit that out for you, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately. Okay, her back pose is fucking crazy. Her back pose is striking. It is not common to have these long hamstring drops, and she and Whoopi compared super well with those hamstrings. So I'll finish on her physique, and then we will just go ahead and look at comparisons, and then we'll get into the rest. But yeah, so same thing with muscle that I was talking about. She could still put on more size and density on her glutes, but she's winning without even having more of that. Whereas other people will, like, their glutes will be the thing lagging, and they aren't going to win because their glutes are lagging. And her glutes aren't lagging in comparison to the rest of her physique, but I just mean, like, she, I think, is a little bit of a special case where she is not even at her best, and she's still beating, she beat how many Olympians, we'll check how many Olympians, but like at least 5 of the people in the lineup have been to the Olympia before and placed. So yeah, great balance from top to bottom. Waist looks tiny in the back, really displaying the hourglass shape that they want. Symmetrical from top to bottom. Her stance, I think, is really good. Did I say yesterday that her stance was a little bit wide? I don't remember. But I think this stance is really good. Her shoulder width is matching the width on her lower body, so she's just looking really symmetrical. And she has really long legs, too. So the fact that she's able to achieve balance having this shorter torso and longer legs is also awesome, you know? So, you know, that was a really strong point I made when you have to end it with, you know, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I think she could probably just take all this time off till the Olympia and then put on a little bit more size, and she could place in the top 15. I mean, she has the look they're wanting, I think, you know, and she's always placing, you know, she's always placing like really high, and she beats Olympians often. Yeah, she beats, like, she got second at the Sasquatch, and how many of those people were Olympians? Like, a ton. Let's just look. In the top 5 alone, she beat 3 people who were going to the Olympia, like, in a couple weeks from when this show was. So yeah, just really, really excited for Lacy. And let's look at her compared to the other people. And during the show, we couldn't really tell if it was going to be like her getting 3rd place or her getting 1st or 2nd or whatever, because she would be in that 3-4 spot on stage a lot. So yeah, okay, let's look at these pictures if we can. Yeah, okay, this is everyone. Do you guys like when I just am in silence trying to find the pictures? I do. I think it's really good. I think it's good content. Okay. So, here, so she's not in the middle here, but, yeah, just, okay, well, Jess got 6th, so I don't really want to have one where she's in the middle. Okay, maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe it was a bad idea to go look at all these people. Oh, okay, here we go. So I think where she beat Woo is her balance. So like we've talked about with Woo, she leans over, looks like a little bit tipped over in this front pose. It didn't necessarily hurt her because she still got second and beat other people who were just at the Olympia also. But yeah, Lacy just looks like confident, natural, like she's just standing there, great balance. So I think she beat her there. And then both of them had great stage presence the whole time. So let's look at their back pose. Which do they land in their back pose? Okay. This, you know what? Whatever. Okay, we aren't even going to go over it. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's look at Woo. So here she is. So Woo, like I said, has really comparable glutes, which we'll look at in her back pose. And let's just find this full front pose here. So Woo, same critiques that I had yesterday. Just like the pose hasn't changed. There's not really much to say. Move the hand off of the belly button to not cover up the tiniest part of your waist. Stand up straighter. She would get more hourglass shape. And then I think she would have been even more comparable to Lacy. So yeah, I think she's just overposed in this front pose. And maybe, I wonder if the judges said anything. I wonder if she got feedback after the show. And if the judges said anything about posing, because she competes a lot. She's competed a lot in the U.S. So I would imagine if they didn't like her front pose, she would have gotten feedback on it by now. So I don't know. I think I'm right about how I would change her front pose. I would like to see how different ones stacked up against people. But I guess we just won't really be seeing that unless she makes a change. So yeah, her back pose, I would probably bring the feet in just slightly so that the heel is directly under that shoulder. So just like an inch on each side. But this wide stance is really comparable to what Lacy's stance was. So I can pull Lacy's stance back up. So Lacy also has the wide stance we were talking about, which I said would normally, I think for other people, be a little bit too much. But it matches her personal shoulder width. So if we look at these two next to each other, it's comparable. So you can see that like these glutes and the shape of how they're standing makes them even more comparable. So yeah, her clavicle width just is not as wide as Lacy's. So that's where the imbalance is happening for me. Her upper body is looking more narrow than her lower body, only because of where her feet are. I think if she brought her feet in and just kept this slight little bend in the knee, then she would be overall more balanced. But maybe she's doing that to make her glutes look in better balance to her legs, like, because her glutes are very developed. So, yeah, that's my take there. And what do I think about the hair, makeup, and suit? Let's answer that. Oh, yeah, because another thing that I always say about Woo is that I want a more saturated suit, and she delivered. Not that she saw my video, but, she delivered on having a more saturated suit, which I think really popped on her. I said in another video that I don't love when we can see the straps in the front pose because it kind of takes away the illusion for me. And it kind of segments the physique in a weird way, in my opinion. So I would like to see these connectors be longer and disappear behind her neck, just so things look more streamlined. The saturation in the makeup is really pretty. Do I like this eyeshadow and lip combo? Maybe one or the other. Maybe a more bronzy eye would be better if you want to keep this lip. Or maybe that, it could be the picture, so I'm not going to be too critical of that. She looks beautiful, Okay. And then we have third place, Tara. Okay. Love Tara. Love her. So, she's another one they kept moving around. Oh, I took notes. On how they moved some people. Let me pull those up. Wow, I really should have gotten those sooner. So, after they did an 8-person call out, or it was a 6-person call out or something, then they sent Woo to the diagonal, and then Brittany, Lacy, Jess, Tara, and someone else were out there, and left only. Okay, these are not good notes. Okay, let me just look at So Tara was in the center for a while. That's one of my notes. And then Lacy and Wu were in the middle after moving Jess out and moving Jessica. And then when they sent people away, then they brought out Eureka and Ashley. So it ended up being like an 8-person call out. And yeah, okay, whatever. These are not great notes. I wish Tara did her normal hair swoop that she does. So, I mean, she looks beautiful, but I like that little old Hollywood glam that she usually does with her hair, which I will show you. So, this is what I'm talking about. I feel like it just adds to the whole look. Okay, so what do I think about Tara? I think hair, makeup, beautiful. I personally like the other hair, but this is great too. And suit looks good. I think what it was with her is just she was up against some genetic freaks on this day, because it doesn't really look like she's holding water or anything. Her physique looks pretty on point. I haven't checked her Instagram to see if she's said anything about what the judges said, but I think that the other people that day just had a little bit more pop to their physique. You know, I don't really think it's that she did anything wrong. So I'll be interested to see what she says, because she has great glute projection, soft connection of the tie-in to the hamstring. She's not overly conditioned or under conditioned. She looks like she's in shape. The poses look really beautiful. So I think that it was just the other people that day just had a little bit more wow factor than her, and really tiny waists or something. So yeah, I think I don't really have any critiques on Tara here. So let's move on to, and it was really close judging. So yeah, let's move on to Brittany. So Brittany did a curl to her hair. Loved the curl. Love how much of her front pose she's showing. She's not too profile. It does look like she's letting her waist go a little bit. So let's just see if, yeah, her core is just looking a little bit washed out to me. So I wonder if that was anything. Her waist is still freakishly small, but I wonder if there's just a little bit of softness here. I like her hand placement. I think that's really good. Did I say anything else about her? No. So yeah, I think this pose is good. I think the waist control is just not as there. And would I make any changes? I mean, maybe she could drop her hand down just a little bit, but I don't think that's going to make the difference in the placing. I don't really know what it is with Brittany. As usual, I'm kind of at a loss for what they want to see from her. I'm not seeing much taper into the waist. It looks just kind of like a blank space here. So I wonder if she brought her arm closer, if that would end up flexing her lat a little bit and then giving her more of that severe taper into her waist, which is tiny. But yeah, I'm thinking she might just be a little washed in the core. And the way her shoulder is flattened back here, I think takes away the matching volume of the shoulder cap in each shoulder. So let's just see if that even is a real thing and compare it to what Lacy's shoulder is covered up. So let's look at someone else's shoulder, or let's look at Brittany when she qualified for the Olympia to see if her shoulders were matching in roundness in that front pose. So, okay, covering her shoulder. You guys, why are you covering your shoulders? I want to see them. Okay. So, yeah, okay, you can see more roundness in her shoulder here, and this is what I'm talking about with the arm. Bring it closer to the body because you can see more of this lat here, more of, like, the muscle, which tapers into her waist. And in the photos that we were just looking at, it looks like the lat has disappeared a little bit. Let me know if you see what I mean. So, not seeing any taper here, not seeing, like, the muscle here at all, and seeing more taper here because her arm is closer to her body, so I imagine her lat is flexed a little bit, which is keeping her arm locked in and tight to her physique. But also she's angled more towards the judges in this show. than she was at the show that she qualified at. And you can just see that her waist looks a little bit tighter. Again, she's a little bit more profile when she won this show. So yeah, I don't know what it is with Brittany. I did really like the wave in her hair. I wonder if she was just a little bit traumatized from from what happened with her hair at Hurricane. So yeah, the hair looks beautiful. And when I say what happened with her hair at Hurricane, I'm talking about how she mentioned her extensions were not installed properly because she was not the one who did them this time. And, you know, show day, it's always a rush. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I think the wave is really beautiful. And then what do I think about her back pose? I think great projection. I was talking about more projection would be good for her because she has more narrow hips themselves, so she doesn't get that like natural hourglass shape in her back pose like someone like Jennifer Dory would, where she has wider hips. But yeah, I think great projection and pop. I think maybe she was just a little washed out in the core. I really don't know. And I don't know if she posted anything about it. The show just happened, so honestly, I doubt she posted anything. Okay, so let's look at Jessica Wilson, who got 4th. Jessica Wilson, she's just so wonderful. When Tara stepped on stage during their placings, Tara got 3rd, and then Jessica was in 4th, so she was already on stage when they called 3rd. And she reaches over to hug Tara, and Tara didn't seem like she was necessarily expecting it. And then they held hands for a second. It was really cute. I just really like Jessica, and she looks genuinely happy for people when they do well, which is just such a great display of sportsmanship. It's really nice to see. So here's Jessica's front pose. And I have the same things to say that I did yesterday, which is we just don't really have that glute projection. What it is for her, I think it's just overall volume to the physique. So, I was a little distracted because her hair was a little long in the back pose. It was covering her glutes. I do like the suit color. I think the blue stones on this suit are pretty. And the suit pops on her. But yeah, with Jessica, I'm kind of just wondering if obviously she competes because she wants to win, but also because she loves it. So what I think is she just needs more size overall. Nothing crazy. She's already doing really well, always qualifying for the Olympia, won the Masters Olympia. With the amount of muscle she has, and less than that, she was still winning even, before she built to where she is now. And what I'm thinking is she just needs a little bit more size, but she's in her 40s, so I don't know at this point how she's already won the Masters Olympia. Could she win the Open Olympia? Yeah, if she had more size. Like, she has everything else. Stage presence, hair, makeup, suit, tan, everything looks really good. Confidence, she has, like, the good vibes you need to win. But I'm wondering if she's at a point where she just doesn't care enough to do that extra. Like, maybe it's different PEDs she would need to, like, maybe she's at a limit with how much size she can put on doing the things that she's willing to do. So maybe she's at a point where she's not willing to do something else that would, like, help her build more muscle. Because the cost benefit is not there for most people, So, yeah, I think it would just be a little bit more size, especially in her glutes, and that would really tie everything together. But yeah, so I don't even know if that's her goal. So that's all I really have to say there. And, yeah, I hope that doesn't sound judgy or anything. I don't mean it like that. So yeah. But love her look. Love her look. She's just her physique is looking a little bit, maybe, is it tired? I don't know if it looks tired. Let's look at what she looked like at the Olympia, which would presumably be, like, that's her best physique of the year. Like, that's what people train for all year. She just looks to me like she has a little bit more volume overall at the Olympia than she does at this show, but it could be the lighting. Like, the tan obviously looks way different, but she looks like she has more pop in this show than she does in the show that she just did. So yeah, and now let's look at her back pose. I thought her glutes looked really good in her back pose at this show. But just needing a little bit more volume. And maybe if she arched more, then she would get more shape, at least to the glutes. But yeah, so what she would need is, usually we wouldn't see this suit laying flat exactly. The glutes would have so much density and volume that they would actually push that suit up so it would look even more heart-shaped. But yeah, I think she could arch a little bit more and then get more pop, but that could sacrifice her overall balance in this back pose, you know? So she might look like she's just posing too hard. And this is what I was saying about the hair. You can actually see it like folding in because it's touching her back, which is pushing it up. So yeah, I would just say shorter hair. But yeah, I would just say shorter hair. Okay, so Jessica Wilson, love to see it. Okay, Jess Feeney, she got 6th place. So let's talk about Jess. And she wore the suit that is more in line with what we see in the US. So I think that was a good choice. Not because the US is better by any means. I mean, you see what's going on in the US. But because this is a little bit more standard to what people wear here. And so it made her fit into the lineup a little bit better. And then if she wore that other suit that we see here with the bigger stones. Which is a very fabulous suit, but just not as much for the sport that we're doing. So, yeah, I think her front pose looks good. She's much leaner than the people who we saw in those top 5 spots. So that's like a defining difference here. She's just, you can tell, a lot tighter. Same critique with that front pose. I would want this shoulder to level out and be relaxed. So drop that hand down and not hike the shoulder up so much. And then she's pretty profile here, but I think it's because she has a shorter torso, which can make your waist look a little bit wider, which we talked about yesterday with like the space between the ribs and the hip bone being a lot more minimal compared to people with longer torsos. But yeah, so I would also like to see this knee pointed towards the judges because it's looking really small when she points it away like that. And then the little toesies are hanging over the shoe. I feel you with that, girl. So I don't really know. Insoles, maybe that's what you do about that. I don't think it's a big deal though. Sandy has said that she should never like get to your feet when she's looking at her pose. If she gets to your feet when she's looking at her pose, then, you know, it's just probably not your day. Anyway. Okay, and then back pose. She looks less extreme in her back pose this time. It doesn't look like she's arching as much. She still is pinching those shoulder blades though, and her glutes just could use some development because they look really similar in size to her legs, and her hamstrings are really tight. So yeah, that's what I think about Jess. And Eureka got 7th. So I haven't really critically looked at why Eureka may have gotten 7th in comparison to Jess. I think Eureka fits the standard a little bit better than Jess, so I'm a little bit surprised, and I'm sorry, not in a way to like take away Jess's placing. Like, I don't mean it like that at all. It's just more watching as a fan. I'm personally a little bit surprised. I think Eureka's makeup and hair spot on. Eureka looked like she was having so much fun on stage. She was so fun to watch. I have the same thoughts on her front pose, just bringing that arm in a little bit. But like I said yesterday, her excitement to be on stage makes her look effortless. So even if I think that pose looks a little bit effortful, her attitude is really flawless on stage. And then her back pose, I think hair could be a tiny bit shorter, and then I would like it to all be straight. This is something that we see with Eureka's hair a lot on stage, and I don't know. A lot of times her hair, like the front of her hair looks a little bit messy, and the back isn't like quite as straight. It has like some kind of wave in it, but I think like her hair looks much more polished now compared to how it's looked at past shows. So I like that, but from the back, I think her hair could be a little bit straighter. So yeah, it looks good there. But whatever. So yeah, I just think her hair could be a little bit straighter in the back, like in this area. But I think that same thing, we need to pull the suit down in the back, up in the front to cover up this attachment between the glute and the low back. And then I think it looks like she's just holding a little bit of water here. So maybe that was the defining difference between her and Jess, because she's looking a tiny bit soft in these glute ham ties. And that could be like holding water, could be stress, could be menstrual cycle, could be that she needs to lose a little bit of more body fat and it's not like just an inflammation thing. But it's looking to me more like inflammation than it does body fat, I think. I am actually not sure now that I say that out loud. But let's look again, and maybe I'll decide. Okay, what's my decision? Yeah, she looks like pretty tight. So I think it just looks like a little bit inflamed, but maybe she needs to lose some body fat. Not sure. But hair, makeup, suit, really pretty. And then let's talk about Ashley Mintz, the one that I mentioned, who won the overall at the Olympia Amateur. So she got tighter, just like I was saying I would like to see. So yeah, so she definitely got tighter. This is like how tight I'd want to see her. And I think that just revealed what we kind of thought, which is she just needs a little bit more muscle overall anyway, but this is still like a very fierce package. On stage, she was not smiling that much. Like when she would hit her front pose, she would smile, but when she was just in the lineup or like in the call out or throughout her routine, you could tell it was like a conscious thing of like, oh, now I smile. You know, it was just not there the whole time. And maybe she was unhappy with her physique or something, or just like was nervous. That could totally be the case. But yeah, so same critique with her posing that I mentioned yesterday. She's leaned back a little bit. You can see this wrinkling in the skin in her waist here. So I would just, and you can see that she's tilted back in her shoulders. So just leveling off those shoulders, that will pull this shoulder up and eliminate this wrinkling. But it looks like she just needs some more overall development. So like the main components of bikini are there, like shoulders are matching the glutes, conditioning looks really good, but you can see her arm is just a little bit under muscled compared to her shoulder. So it's just a matter of like balancing the whole physique now. So filling in these gaps. So it's like in these limbs, just getting a little bit more muscle maturity overall. And she looks like she's young. So I think that it's just going to be that, a muscle maturity thing, holding the size on your frame for longer and adding more tissue to balance out everything. And then here's her back pose. So I'd like her to get her hair off her shoulders in this back pose because that's covering up a major part of the physique. You can still see her shoulders and see that she's balanced from top to bottom, but you can't totally judge the physique because it is obscured. Length of hair could be like a tiny bit shorter, but it's nothing that awful. And then I think this conditioning is really great. This tie into the legs, like these glutes are killer. And she has kind of short insertions, and her glutes look really killer. So yeah, I think she has a ton of potential, but it's going to be filling in those gaps, like I said. So I would say more volume to the hamstrings because you can see that there's not a bunch of, she's not overly separated at all. Like you can't see any extra separation. You can just see the muscle belly itself, but it just needs more volume and projection. And she'll be more complete. So I'm excited in the next couple of years to see how she looks. And then let's move on to, we won't go through everyone, but we'll go through the people that I mentioned at this point. So Steph Warden, she wore a red suit, love the red suit, looks beautiful. And what I would say is that as far as the presentation goes, hair, makeup, gorgeous. She looks really phenomenal. I would like to see more coverage in this suit. It looks just like close to, like if my suit landed there, which my suit did actually, so I won't be wearing a molded top again. But like my nipple was going to pop out, and it looks like that's a similar situation. So the top could just be bigger and it could still be molded like this. This looks like a molded top. Or she could just get a standard top, because I noticed the molded tops from Toxic, they're more narrow than the standard cup. So it exposes a lot in this chest here and makes the chest look really vertical instead of giving that like shape. So yeah, that's just like a critique on the fit. I think her upper body is perfect, exactly where it needs to be. But I think that it's just streamlining. So I'm not seeing much hip detail here. Maybe she's just not quite lean enough. Usually we'd see some more hip detail at this point, like when you're like doing your show. But she's not out of shape by any means. It just looks like her lower body is overpowering her upper body. It just doesn't look in balance, and not in a wellness way, like she should be doing a different division, but just an overall streamlining way, if that makes sense. And I also would split this stance. I think the reason she might not be splitting the stance is because she has such long legs. So she like doesn't want to have a really wide stance, then look more imbalanced from bottom to top. But yeah, there's just something here that leaves a bit to be desired. That was extreme, doing the circles around it. I'm like, here. But yeah, she looks fantastic. And same thing I said yesterday with her knee. I would like to see it maybe bent a little bit more. I don't know. There's just something about the pose that's not quite doing it for me. And maybe angle that knee towards me so we can see a little bit more of this detail, because this leg is looking a little bit washed out, except for this little teardrop part of her quad. But upper body, hair, makeup, suit is where it is, except for that little thing I said about her suit. And then let's look at her back pose. Here we go. So we were saying yesterday that her pose was a little bit timid. And yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I think that she could probably, on her podcast, did she say that she has enough muscle? I can't remember, because she might and just needs to get a little bit tighter and build this upper outer glute a little bit. But I don't know. The pose just looks a little bit timid, maybe a little more bend in the knees, opening up those shoulders a little bit. She's not pinching by any means, but she could stand to open up her lats to get some hourglass shape in this back pose here, because here she's just looking a little bit straight up and down and not really getting the wow factor that we're seeing with some of those other people. So I think it's just going to be some posing tweaks, maybe a little bit more muscle, but I'd like to see the posing tweaks first. Hair length is good, and I think she could get it off her shoulders a little bit, but if she's opened up her lats a little bit, that would pull her shoulders outward, which would then eliminate that hair on the shoulder problem. So I don't know what it is. I really love her physique, and I'm excited to see what she does in the sport. But yeah, that's it. Those are my thoughts. Okay, and then Kimber. So, okay. Going into the show, I was because Kimber has competed a lot. She competed a lot early in the season, hasn't competed since May until now. Same thing about the suit. I would like to see those straps disappear behind the neck. The connectors disappear behind the neck. I don't know that her physique is looking tired, but it just sucks when you're tall, because you just need more size to be comparable to people who are shorter. Like, you can have the same amount of muscle, but it doesn't look like it when you're 6 inches taller than them. So yeah, I would say more volume to the legs overall, because they're just looking a little bit thin. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way at all. It just like, that's the aesthetics of the sport. Like, it's an aesthetic sport, and you want to see that volume and bubbliness to the muscle. So she looks fantastic, but when we're talking about going against these other people who have like really bubbly muscle, a lot of times because they're shorter, then it does become a factor. And I would also bring this arm in, because she's really widening the physique, and it looks a little bit distracting and not as polished. And then what I also think is hair and makeup. I know she likes to do her own makeup, but she needs to up the glam factor, because it's just not giving wow factor. And her makeup looks pretty, but it doesn't look like stage glam. So like the eyes are looking a little bit washed out. I think she needs warmer tones. I would just get your makeup done for a show, see how it looks, and see the difference it makes. Like we talked about how Ashlyn Little said that she started noticing a difference in her placing when she has upped her glam and it paid for someone to do her makeup. It gets expensive when you're competing a lot, of course, but I would love to see just one time getting it done. And then let's look at her back pose. So yeah, I think it's just going to be a more muscle thing. It looks like a little bit unconditioned with the way these glutes are touching in the middle. Like there's a little bit of softness, but if she gets leaner, maybe she looks skinny and stringy, you know? So it's just going to be an overall size thing with her. I would like to see the hair a little bit shorter for the same reasons that I said for other people earlier. But yeah, her physique is just looking a little bit worn out to me. Okay, and then we're almost done. So Mika, congratulations on your pro debut. Congratulations. Let's look at the posing. I think the suit is pretty on her. And yeah, same thing, just stand up straighter. Split your stance a little bit and maybe angle towards the judges a little bit more because she's pretty profile here. Well, okay, maybe that's not fair. Maybe she's not fully posed. Let's look at a fully posed photo. Okay, yeah. So yeah, stand up straighter. And for her, it's just going to be overall size. You know, same thing we talked about with Ashley, just more fullness to the muscle bellies overall. Mika just turned pro and she only started competing in 2022. So she's like been in the sport only for 2 years, really dedicated to bodybuilding. I'm guessing. I'm not like positive about that, but I don't know that she was working out for 5 years just in anticipation for her first bodybuilding show. You know, like I think it's probably been with intention for maybe 3-4 years max. That would be my guess. If you're me, you train for 6 months and say, I'm going to do a show. And then you do a show. So yeah. And then back pose, same thing we talked about with like just having a bigger cut for the bottom so we don't see this connection. And she's just a little soft in that gluteum tie area. It's you like we said with Kimber, if you come in tighter, then sometimes you can look skinny. So yeah, I think she looks excellent, like fantastic, beautiful pro debut. And for her, it's like sky's the limit, honestly. Yeah, I think she definitely has what it takes to do well in the pro league. It's just going to be a little bit more size, which that if I competed this year, they would say, yeah, more size, go away, you know? Okay, let's look at the last person I brought up, Nicole. Okay, congratulations, Nicole. It was so exciting to see her on stage, and she looked so happy. Gorgeous physique. I'm just like totally obsessed. Yeah, beautiful. Hair, makeup, suit, beautiful. She wore this suit, which is the suit that I said I liked better, not because she consulted me, but I just said yesterday, like, this color suit better than the purple, and I think it really popped on her. Her waist looks tight, conditioning looks really good. I would straighten this arm because it's just a little bit distracting when it points out like that, but that's really is that my only critique for the front pose? I think so. Yeah, I think everything's really good. I think it's all there. She has like all the pieces. I think she will do really well in the pro league. It's just going to be a matter of building her glutes more, which I'm sure she knows. So yeah, I would say she just looks a little bit shallow in the glutes here. And if she built those up and maybe arched a little bit more in her back pose, maybe not now, like if she arched too much, I think we would see the thing that we've talked about, which is where we see like a lot of space here in the adductor. But yeah, I think it's just going to be more glutes overall. Same thing, pushing those bottoms up because you have so much projection. But yeah, I think that's it. Maybe she could build her lats a little bit more just for more hourglass shape because I think she's also taller. So she can look a little straight up and down. Most people do when they're that tall or when they're tall in general. But yeah, so I think she was just gorgeous. So fun to watch and looked like she was having a lot of fun. And I'm sure she'll just take some time off. She's not a stranger to taking time off. And like she's taken Tokyo Original 2019, 2021, and then 21 to 23. So yeah, I think she'll come back and be looking amazing. And she's getting married soon. So I'm sure she will want to take some time off from competing anyway. But yeah, so that's my little recap. I guess we could, am I even going to try to go over the comparisons again? I shouldn't. Yeah, I won't. I won't. This is just too much. But yeah, so that is all. Great show. Congratulations to everyone. I'm excited to see Eureka I assume she'll continue to compete. This is her first show that she's done back. Let's just look at the list of events and see let's do a little projection on on what show she might do next. So let's type in November. Okay. So what shows are her options? She does compete in Asia a lot too, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a show there if she would go do that. So yeah, she's competing in Anaheim. So, oh, she's done Sean Ray before, so I wouldn't be surprised if she does Sean Ray next week. Atlantic Coast wouldn't be a bad idea if if her feedback allows for that. And then Kansas City, where I'm from, maybe I'll do the Kansas City Pro at some point. Japan Pro, I wouldn't be surprised if she did that. She competes in Japan a lot. So if I had to guess, that those two and Taiwan, since Taiwan, that's 2 weeks later, so I don't know if she would take a vacation that long. I know I think she's a nurse or something. So I don't know how much she can really be taking off. But yeah, maybe she would do Beijing. But yeah, so we have a few options. I hope that Eureka will do a couple more shows. I really want to see Eureka compete. I really like her. So yeah, congratulations to everyone. Congratulations, Lacy. Well deserved. It was so exciting to see her get that win. And yeah, thank you guys. Bye.